Sweet. Alrighty. And just double checking one more time. Can you all see the presentation pulled up? Awesome.
Yes.
All right, awesome. Well, I might just get into it. My name is Natasha. I am assistant to the Fire Adapted Communities program, and I work with Michelle McLean, who I'm sure all of you have connected with previously to this. Um, So just a little preface about this presentation. It's going to be going through the Firewise portal step by step. I've been made aware most of you guys are in the midst of your Firewise application. So I'm just going to kind of go over the whole thing comprehensively, and then there'll be time at the end to answer specific questions that you guys have. Um, Sweet. So I guess I'll get right into it. And yeah, good morning. Thank you guys for being here today. Appreciate it. Hopefully this answers any lingering questions you have. Um, so just a quick little background on Firewise and how it differs from fire adapted communities. Um, that's often a little bit of a point of confusion how these programs are separate from one another, but also related. So, the Tahoe Resource Conservation District hosts the Fire Adapted Communities program, as well as regionally coordinates Firewise, that's a nationally recognized program. While Fire Adapted Communities is a big program that encompasses a large framework of wildfire preparedness, information, resources, and services, Firewise is just one aspect that we um, facilitate here within Fire Adapted Communities. Sweet. Hopefully, these are the last people we have joining. Um, and fire adapted communities also allows for funding that the local fire districts use all around the basin to provide free chipping services and defensible space inspections to residents. And those are two services that most people use for their work days, which are part of both Firewise and fire adapted communities. Um, This diagram here breaks that down a little bit more for how Firewise is separate from fire adapted communities, but the two programs overlap quite a bit. So if there's any confusion about this, you can visit our website, Tahoe Living with Fire, and see all the different information and resources on there. Um, that being said, this map here on the right is a diagram of all the current neighborhoods around the lake that are part of the Fire Adapted Communities program. And a little over half of the neighborhoods are also now Firewise recognized, which is awesome. In the last year specifically, there's been over a 50% increase in the neighborhoods that have become Firewise certified. So that's really awesome growth to see more and more people joining the program each year. So that's great. Guess I should have waited a few more minutes to start here. Welcome to anyone that just joined. I'm just kind of giving a background about Firewise and fire adapted communities. I'm going to go through this presentation and there'll be time at the end for questions. So getting into this presentation today, I'm going to walk through the Firewise portal online, what you guys see, and all the steps involved with that that'll hopefully lead to your neighborhood receiving a Firewise certification in the near future. So to start out, when you make an account, you're going to go to portal.firewise.org. I'm sure some of you have already gotten in there. That page is going to look like this top image here. There's been a number of people in the last few months that have gotten this step a little bit confused and have gone on the wrong website, which is this red and white one appearing at the bottom. So if that's what you see, know that that's not correct. And to start out and make your Firewise account, it's going to look like so up here at the top. And that's where you first make your login. That's basically just going to be your name, email, and password that you're going to use to access your Firewise portal. Once you get logged into that, the first option you're going to see to get started is to create a site profile. And this is going to be for your neighborhood, and you're going to input some general information about your neighborhood in there. So that'll be the first option you see once you log into the portal account you created. It's going to ask you to do a couple things to get started. The first one is going to be mapping your site. And this is different from the formal map that you're going to submit for your neighborhood as part of your risk assessment. I'm going to touch on that in a bit. But this first mapping of your site you're going to see is just a little GPS pinpoint to show on a map where tentatively your neighborhood is located. So all you need to do is enter your address or a neighbor's address in there to get a general pinpoint for where your neighborhood is on the map. And you're gonna input some basic information, details in here, your resident leader information. I'm assuming most of you that joined this call today are the leaders for your neighborhoods. You're going to input your regional coordinator information, your Firewise site name, which is your neighborhood name, number of dwellings and residents. A couple key things to note here. So the resident leader is the main point of contact, most of those people being you guys. You will have the login and password for the Firewise portal, which you just created. And you can share this login and password with your other committee members as you please, if you want them to assist in reviewing or completing different information. So just know that more than one person can log in there at a time. Just maybe make sure that not two people are working in there at the same time. Your regional coordinators are going to be two different people you're going to list under that. The first is going to be your fire district defensible space inspector, who's the person that helped you complete your risk assessment. And the second person is going to be Tahoe RCD staff, which will be Michelle McLean, who's on here today. That will be who you put for your second regional coordinator. And something to note on the dwelling units, you can change this number in the future, but it's most important thing to note that the dwelling number must match everything else that you record here in your application. So there's several other places you're going to put a dwelling number for your neighborhood. Make sure when you put it here, it matches everything else. And for neighborhoods that might have more apartment complexes or duplexes, things like that, a dwelling unit is the amount of units within those buildings. So it can be an estimate. Just make sure that whatever you put for that's going to be consistent through your application. Once you're done, you can review that information. You're able to go back and change certain details, but you won't be able to update the map, which is your GPS location point, your resident leader information, or your site name. So make sure you put those things in there correctly. All right, moving right along. Once you've finished your site profile, you're able to hit start application and navigate through the various steps that'll appear in orange within your portal. It's first gonna just give you an overview and ask you to continue, and you're gonna navigate through 9 steps, which you can always click at the top, and this will show you each of the 9 individual steps you can navigate through as needed. Step 2 is going to be state requirements. This is where you're going to download the 2 major documents that are part of your Firewise application. Your risk assessment and your 3-year action plan. I'm going to get into both of these a little bit more in a second. It's important to note that both of these documents you're going to download onto your computer and fill out onto your computer and then re-upload onto the portal. So these aren't automatically connected to the portal. They're separate documents that you're going to download and complete. The risk assessment's going to be the same for everyone. For the action plan, there is a specific action plan designated by the state of California that has some specific details on there. So you're going to want to be making sure that the action plan you're completing is for California state requirements. For anyone that's on the call today from Nevada, you will also be using this California document. And two ways to get this. You can go to this link here, Ready for Wildfire, download it directly from there, and or we can also email you a copy directly. So if there's any confusion about which action plan document you're completing, just email Michelle. We will send one directly to you to ensure you're filling out the correct one, because the California ones just has some slight specific details on it. All right, moving right along. Once you're ready to upload your risk assessment, some key things to note here are that you're uploading it into the Dropbox and you're gonna go through it and just review that everything on your risk assessment is completed as such. You're gonna want to make sure that your committee members and fire district staff have all the information for them filled out, such as their name, position, email, and telephone number. You're going to want to make sure that the dwelling units on your risk assessment match that previous dwelling numbers you put for your neighborhood's profile. You're going to want to make sure that all boxes are complete in your risk assessment. Nothing's left blank. There's quite a few pages in the risk assessment, so just go through it once and make sure you can see everything's on there, like all observations being summarized. And this is also where you can add a map of your neighborhood. So this map of your neighborhood is going to be a visual map showing the boundaries of your neighborhood. There's a page to put one in the risk assessment itself, or you can also upload the map as a separate document right in this file Dropbox. So you're allowed to upload more than one files here. If you do not have a map of your neighborhood already, we can also provide that for you. So that's something to note. If you don't have a map, ask for one and we can get that to you. And the last thing to note, once you've put your risk assessment in here, is to make sure that this date assessment has been filled out for when it was completed. And you're ready to go on to the next thing, which is putting some basic information for your committee members. All you're going to do is check, yes, I've established a board, a committee, and it'll ask you to input the committee information. Fire district staff and Tahoe RCD staff, like Michelle, are not part of your committee, so you should have 3 people, including the leader, who are a part of your committee. And it might tell you that putting this information is optional, but you should do it anyway. And the next big piece in your portal application is going to be getting your action plan in there. Some common issues we see are that people have not put the correct dates for the action plan, or they haven't put them in the headers within their action plan document. So a reminder that your action plan is for 3 years and it's always going to start the year after you apply. So for any of you guys that get your Firewise application in 2024, year 1 on your action plan is going to be 2025, year 2 would be 2026, and year 3 would be 2027. So just looking at your action plan, make sure that those years are correctly and starting with the upcoming year. You're going to create actions for each year under each section of the action plan. You must hold a minimum of 1 workday per year, and this will be noted under the education and outreach section. I'm going to explain that more in a second. You will not be able to submit or complete this application without a workday. So hopefully you have done that, and just know that you must have a workday to submit your Firewise application. Um, you must create a minimum of 2 actions per section in the action plan as well. This used to be 1 action, and now they are saying that you need 2 in each section. So just make sure you have 2 actions in each section. And of course, they don't have to be, huge goals here. Just making sure you do 2 in each section. You should not duplicate all actions for each year. You can duplicate some. You must use recommendations from your risk assessment and do not say that you're working towards defensible space compliance. That's just sort of a wording thing that they don't like to see. So if you can avoid saying that, that's good. And then just ensure that the dwelling numbers, if you put that in your site description, as part of the action plan, that it matches the other dwelling numbers that you've put down to this point. Um, Educational and outreach event. So this is where you're going to record your workday that you did. It is not listed here as a bullet point, so you're going to go down to the other option. Once you click that, it'll let you list the date and what it was that you completed. And that's where you'll select Workday, which you can call a Wildfire Community Preparedness Day, and put the date that you completed that. If there was any other activities or events that you did to this point, you can also add that in here. Committee members must participate in 1 educational event per year in a workday. Uh, Counts as that. Alrighty. So getting your vegetation removal recorded is a big piece of this. And while this page can look a little bit complicated, it is pretty simple. So once you see this, you're gonna hit record a removal, and then the second page here is gonna pop down, and you're gonna put a total amount in cubic yards for vegetation removed. This can be for your workday, but it can also be for any other vegetation that was removed by you or your neighbors in the past year. So that'll take a little bit of counting, getting your neighbors to record what they've done for vegetation removal in their yards. So just kind of an estimate here, 1 cubic yard is approximately 5 39-gallon bags worth of vegetation, which is going to be your standard big yard bag. So you'll put the total number in cubic yards there. It can be an estimate. What's important is that you are going to put a comment at the bottom specifying what type of material that vegetation consisted of. So most of the time, a lot of that's pine needles. If some neighbors did trimming of tree branches, anything else, you'll specify that in there and say vegetation consisted of such. And if you want to say, oh, most of this was cleared on our workday or cleared over the past year, you can also put that in the comment box right there. And that's all there is to it for vegetation removal. For the risk reduction investment, this is going to be step 8 of 9. And what this does is it quantifies all the work that your neighborhood has done into a monetary value here. So that's gonna calculate all the hours of work that you and your neighbors have done in the past year, and it's gonna quantify that as a numerical value, also adding any additional cost that you or your neighbors had as they pertain to various defensible space and wildfire mitigation work. So for this first part here for recording your hours worked, it's important that you enter hours worked broken into these 2 top sections here for dwelling unit and landscaping. These hours will be converted into dollars and displayed. So the hours are calculated by the National Volunteer Hourly Rate, and Firewise prefers that you break down your hours and do not just put one number here. So it doesn't have to be exact, but you should break up your hours into the dwelling units and the landscaping. And it gives you a description for what those two differences are. A dwelling unit would be all the hours that you and your neighbors collectively worked on doing work to your dwelling unit specifically. So examples of that: clearing pine needles from your roof, clearing pine needles from your gutter, doing stuff to the structure itself, maybe installing screens on your vents. All of that will go into the dwelling units. Separate from that, you're going to put something in the landscaping box, and that's going to be all the work that you've done in your yard. And that can be going from the 0 to 100-foot zone. So all the defensible space zones, all your yard work, all your clearing of debris is going to go in the landscaping box. And I can answer any questions about that at the end. And just again to note, this information is collected primarily during the workday that you completed, but any hours within the calendar year can also be recorded and put into those boxes. And then for the costs, most people, the most common one that I've seen is people might have some costs associated with contracting arborists and getting trees removed. You'll put that amount in there, total for anything your neighborhood has done. So you might, at your work day or separately, go around and have your neighbors record what they had. Maybe someone bought a nice new leaf blower, stuff like that can go in the cost section, and then it's going to take both of those two calculations, get them into one monetary value that it's going to show as all of your investments for the year. Um, After that, you're ready to go ahead and review what you've submitted in your application. And Michelle goes through and reviews every application before it's submitted. So just make sure that once you're ready to submit, you let her know and that she can review it for you. This reduces the likelihood of your application being returned for edits, which can lengthen the approval process by 1 to 3 weeks. So just to minimize that, minimize you guys getting an application returned to you, we'll review it for you. And also during this step 9 of 9, you're going to choose the number of Firewise signs that you would like under recognition materials. This is separate from your Firewise certification. This is like a sign saying your neighborhood is working to be Firewise. So you can only get 2 of those. If you want to purchase more, there is an option for that as well. So that's kind of the last thing before you click the submit button. Not sure if anyone on here today is in the process of renewing your application, but just to go over what that looks like. So once a year, you're going to renew your Firewise application. If you submit this year in 2024, you're not going to do this until November 2025, and you're always going to do it once a year. And this renewal process is pretty quick, unless there's any complications, but in general, your risk assessment lasts 5 years and your action plan lasts 3 years. So unless any other information has changed, like your site leader contact information, maybe there was construction in your neighborhood and you know the dwelling units changed, then you would go and change that dwelling units in all of those places that you put that. But if nothing has changed, then you're just going to do steps 7 through 9 for your renewal, which is going to be recording your workday in the education and outreach section, which you have to do that once a year again. And then you're just going to record your vegetation removal and risk reduction investment, like I went over, review and submit, and the renewal process typically is pretty quick and easy. Yes. All right. Well, I think went through that a little bit quicker than I expected. Michelle's on the call, and we are happy to answer specific questions that you guys have. So if you want to raise your hand or unmute yourself, we can go over that now. Or if you have any general questions, we can also answer those. But yeah, that's the Firewise application portal.
There in the corner.
Yes.
She's
Then,
Yeah, I have one question here.
Uh-huh.
Phone number, just so today is day one for me on this. So
Okay, cool.
having somebody to talk to kind of work me through and when I get into trouble would be a real help.
Yeah, most definitely. So, Michelle is going to walk you through an overview of the process. And this presentation that I just covered is really for once you already get that overview of what Firewise entails and the key components. So if you're confused about stuff, don't worry. You'll get all of that clarified. I would have you email her. I'm not sure what phone number she's working off of right now. So,
Yeah. If you just email me, I will call you back.
Okay, at fire at Tahoe RCD,
.org.
Yes.
that works?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sweet. Thanks, Peter.
So I have a question on if we're applying year one, how important, like we've done 2 work days, but I haven't collected information about, improvements, investments in the neighborhood. How important is that to put in there for year one in your application? I mean, now applying now in 2024 for starting in 2025.
Right. So I think you're referring to recording the investment and the vegetation. That is gonna be required. So maybe if you didn't do that for your work days, it's okay to go back and estimate. But that is gonna be part of,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
This is Rick. I have a question regarding is there funding available for hauling away debris or if how could you explain perhaps if there is how that might work?
Um, So there are chipping services available from all the fire districts. I believe South Lake Tahoe is the only one that might pause that during the winter. Um, or I'm not sure which ones do it all year round currently, but so each fire district does have chipping services available. And if you sign up with them, they can have a crew come out. And if you're doing like a work day, for instance, they can chip and clear debris that you guys bring out to your yards. Each fire district has their own website. And on their website, you can submit a request to get a chipper to come out to you. Um, Again, since we're moving into the winter now, I'm not entirely sure which all do chipping services right now, but that's available in the spring through the summer and the fall. And I know a couple people just wrapped that up, but does that answer your
Yeah.
question? Yeah.
Richard, where are you from in the basin? Where do you live?
Tahoma.
In Tahoma. So the chipping services have ended for the year. They ended in October. But opening up in the spring, usually around April through October, on the Tahoma side through North Tahoe Fire, you actually can get dumpsters. Leslie, didn't you get dumpsters out?
Yeah, we've done that twice. It's great. Yeah, we've got 2 dumpsters, 30-yard dumpsters the first time, and then 3 the next time. And it's been really popular. So, and
So
you record the number of hours that volunteer hours, you have people sign up. So then that goes into the cost of the dumpster.
yes, and it's a great way to record the hours. And Richard, what you would do is you would sign up with us as the Fire Adapted community. Once we have that short application form, we can help you with your Firewise application, and then you can get those dumpsters out to your neighborhood for free. And a lot of neighborhoods along the West Shore have been doing it twice a year, so once in the spring and then once in the fall.
And
That's
that's
helpful. Thank you.
there. Sweet.
It
So
sounds like Leslie, you have obviously some hands-on, feet on the ground experience with this. in your community, would you mind sharing kind of a typical event? Um, I'll pause. Michelle or anyone else can chime in too. But
Sure. Yeah,
think,
we put out word for it in our community, and we were kind of feeling our way through this year with a lot of help from Michelle. So it we just put out word to the community on Memorial Weekend that we would have the dumpsters. You can order the dumpsters through, is it North Tahoe Fire that I think Michelle,
Yeah,
yes. And then
April
they
sends
tell
it
them,
out to you guys.
yeah. So we did 30-yard dumpsters. We find they're easier for people to load into. They're not tall. But anyway, so we weren't sure how many people would participate on Memorial Weekend. So we got two of them, and we had sign-up sheets hanging there. And so people put their names and number of hours and the information. There's a form that you can download for that. And we had great response for that. And we had so much that we did it again. We were shooting for Labor Day weekend, but we did it later in September, which actually worked out kind of better. And we ended up getting then three 30-yard dumpsters. And they bring them in and deliver them and drop them off for a week. And then they come and pick them up. You have to identify where they go. So I would say start thinking about where there are places that are off the road, so that they can leave them there for the week and they're not in the way of traffic. And we just sort of dispersed them through our community. We're in Timberland, so we had three of them dispersed throughout. And then we just got the word out, and we also then on the second one we asked for volunteers to help during the day for people that couldn't do it. And so we offered that service for seniors or different people that were needing some help. And we had a few volunteers, not that many, so we're expecting it to grow each time that we do this.
thank you.
Uh-huh.
And Richard, feel free to contact me anytime. We've been trying to get some people going into Homa for a while.
Yeah, I've had some things unfortunately tie me up that prevented me from acting sooner. So I'm re-engaging on behalf of
Okay.
a couple of neighbors who I'm working with. So you'll hear
It's
from me.
good to hear.
Yeah.
And I'll be working over the winter, so anytime.
We also, just to add to that, we also found, especially when we let them know that insurance companies did offer discounts to Firewise communities, which our insurance company just offered or told us as soon as we get that designation. So that seemed like we got a lot more buy-in from that as well.
Yeah, I've heard that as well, and I think that mustered up some interest in the area beyond just doing what's sensible anyway. But yeah, the added insurance incentive is kind of nice.
Leslie, who do you have insurance with? We're trying to figure out
All
his
Allstate.
Allstate.
Yeah, we've lucked out so far. We always say so far we haven't lost our insurance, but they've upped it. Actually, this year it went down. Our premium went down, and then as soon as we get the designation, it'll go down a little bit more. So,
Okay.
yeah, and our neighbor, I can't remember. I know one of our board president, I can't remember who she's with, but her insurance company also offered that. I
Okay.
don't remember who it was.
That's good. We're seeing in South Lake Tahoe a lot of people are being dropped recently. But that's us. That's here in South Lake, not you guys yet. I don't know
I'm
why.
told, I think it's in California, but I wouldn't know it to be national, but I think the discount is mandated.
It is.
It
Yeah.
is. There's been a number of regulations passed, but trying to enforce it is difficult. What we are doing, if your insurance company is not accepting, let us know, because we want to put you directly into contact with the California Department of Insurance to make a complaint.
Mhm.
They want to hear from everyone. So hopefully things will start changing towards the end of the year, but let us know if you have issues.
Our insurance, I mean, for the record, is State Farm that hasn't been so kind to the basin. they did offer it. They actually asked, were we part of a Firewise community? So they're being a little proactive.
That's good to know.
We'll see if they come through.
Fingers crossed, right?
Yeah.
Hey, Michelle, this is Jeff Engerman. I did read a couple posts on Nextdoor from some folks that said Fair Plan did give them a reduction for being part of Firewise. There was a big discussion up in Tahoe Donner because all of Tahoe Donner, I guess, is a Firewise community, and people did get a reduction. I don't know how much, but people said they mentioned it and they did get something knocked off.
So Fair Plan is great in the sense that they have, most of them have been given it. We've heard of a couple of representatives who've not been doing that, but they will give you 14.5% discount total.
Wow.
So, but again, if your representative is having an issue and they're from Fair Plan, let us know, because they are supposed to allow that.
Yeah, one of the things too that I wanted to add is that North Tahoe Fire was really great about coming and doing their curb assessments, the risk assessments to begin with. And we weren't sure how that would go over with some people. Then they send out the information to the residents and then offer that they can come, if the resident okays it, they can come do a full assessment. And we found a lot of neighbors did that just on their own accord without us really pushing that. So I think, they're motivated, well, mostly because they don't want to have their houses burned down, but also the insurance thing too. So that they've been great about that.
And we can also, just a point about the risk assessment, as long as there's not too much snow on the ground, Manuel can come out from North Tahoe Fire. So Jeff, if you're still wanting to move forward, we can still come out. And Richard, as long as it doesn't get too snowy.
Yeah, probably not. I'll work on it over the winter. I've just been backed up. But I did find a couple other interested neighbors, so that was helpful. Quick question, just because money incentives seem to generate more interest from people. So is there something to read or a spot on the web on the California insurance requirements that talk about Firewise and discounts?
So as kind of Michelle hinted on, it's a little bit tricky right now. They are supposed to be mandated to provide some discounts. The Fair Plan is one of those. I have a handout I can give you that has some updated information on it that's helpful. There's so many different insurances, so we are trying to get a little bit more information on which ones we're seeing are keeping people providing discounts. But yeah, maybe if you want to put your email in the chat,
Sure.
I can send you this handout that has some updates we got from the California Insurance Commission about a month ago, and I can send that to you.
That'd be great, because I talk to people and they're always like, well, yeah, can I get anything out of it? If there's something financial, they seem to be willing to put in a little more effort. You'd hope it was just as somebody said, so our houses don't burn down, right? But it seems like money gets people's attention a little bit easier. So that's why I just wondered if you hear some insurance companies are giving it, but if there's something from the state that says, hey, they're supposed to give it, that helps a little bit more, and at least understanding, hey, it should be uniform. Now, everybody might not be volunteering it, but maybe you need to knock on their door, right, for your policyholder and say, hey, if I'm Firewise, are you going to give a discount, and see if they say yes, no, or something else.
Yeah, and it's always worth pushing for. So no matter who your insurance provider is, it's always worth reaching out.
Okay.
And saying, hey, we have this certification. Can we get something from it?
Michelle, did you say it's the Fair Plan that gives the 14+% discount? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, they have exact description of what they want to see, and they have two sections: home hardening and then defensible space. And if you check off each single item that they request, you'll get your 14.5.
I think that's
I'm sorry, go ahead, Leslie.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think I didn't know that before, and I think that's a good thing to let your neighborhood know too, because I think sometimes they assume, oh, it's not an insurance company or whatever. I think that would be important. And I know a lot of people that are on it because they've been dropped. So I think that's a good thing to stress too.
And then just to re-verify, some of the representatives are saying that they don't do it, and that's not true. So just
Okay.
make sure we keep telling insurance companies, like
When you
the Department of Insurance.
when you say representatives, who are you referring to? The
So
insurance
fair
company?
plan, yeah, the insurance
Okay.
representatives, the different people. Some of them obviously know their job and they're telling people, yes, you're going to get it. And some people are like, we don't accept that. But as we know, they do and they are supposed to. So
So
yeah,
are you finding it's the insurance company, or is it the agents that
it's
don't know?
sometimes the agents.
Okay. So
And
it
that's
is
why Natasha's saying talk to them, because
okay.
just talking to them, then they'll have to find out. They'll talk to someone else.
Okay, that's great. And on the fair plan, when you said home hardening and then I didn't catch the second item, is it being Firewise, or does the fair plan say, hey, if you meet these two criteria, we'll give you a discount whether you're Firewise or not?
It's both.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they give for Firewise too.
Okay.
Natasha, did you want to?
Yeah, it'll make a little more sense when I send you the sheet because
Sure.
the
Okay,
Get Fair
thanks.
Plan is supposed to give you a couple different deductions. Some of it's specific to being Firewise and some of it's just general, like you said, like if you're doing home hardening and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I have a question, Michelle. I started our action plan in the summer, and then life happened, and I didn't get back to it. I was just looking to see if I could upload what I had already put. I can't remember. Where would I find the saved version of that, or is that not something I can do?
That if you had done the action plan, it should be on your desktop. Let me double check in the Firewise app. I don't think
Okay.
there's anything on there from you. I don't think you ever uploaded
I
anything.
didn't upload